What is a Windows boot sector, and why is it crucial? Imagine turning on your computer and nothing happens. No startup screen, no Windows logo, just a blank or error message. That's when understanding the boot process becomes really important. Today, we're going to explore what a Windows boot sector is and why it plays such a vital role in starting your computer. When you press the power button on a Windows computer, the first thing that kicks in is the firmware, which could be basic input-output system or unified extensible firmware interface. This firmware checks the storage device for a special area called the boot sector. The boot sector is the very first part of your hard drive or storage device, usually the first 512 bytes. It contains tiny but essential machine code that tells your computer how to start loading Windows. On older systems using master boot record partitioning, the boot sector has three main parts. The bootstrap code, which is about 446 bytes, helps transfer control to the next step. The partition table, which is 64 bytes, shows where different sections of the disk are. And the last 2 bytes from the boot signature, confirming the sector is valid. This small chunk of data is like a set of instructions that guides the computer to find the right place to load Windows. In newer systems using GID partition table, the process changes a bit. Instead of a boot sector, these systems relying on unified extensible firmware interface applications stored in an FI system partition. This partition is formatted with a FAT file system and contains the boot loaders for Windows and other operating systems. This shift makes the startup process more flexible and secure. The main job of the boot sector is to load the operating system into memory. When you turn on your PC, the basic input-output system or unified extensible firmware interface checks the boot sector for instructions. It loads this tiny code into a specific memory location called 0x7C00. The bootstrap code then looks at the partition table to find the active partition, which is marked to be used for booting. It loads the volume boot record from that partition, which contains more specific instructions for loading Windows. This process is essential because without the boot sector, your computer wouldn't know where to find Windows. If the boot sector is missing or damaged, the system cannot load the operating system kernel, which is the core part of Windows. That's why problems like corruption or malware infections targeting the boot sector can stop your computer from starting up properly. Because the boot sector is stored at a fixed location, it's easy for the firmware to find it. But this also makes it vulnerable. Bad sectors, accidental formatting, or malicious software can corrupt the boot sector. When that happens, Windows won't be able to load, and you might see error messages like operating system not found or boot device not detected. To fix issues with the boot sector, you can use recovery tools built into Windows. These tools can restore a backup of the boot sector or repair it directly. It's a good idea to keep a backup of your system or create recovery media just in case. Modern Windows systems using unified extensible firmware interface and GID partition table have improved security and recovery options, but the fundamental role of the boot area remains the same. Understanding the boot sector helps you see why your computer starts the way it does. It's the very first step in the process of bringing Windows to life. When it's working properly, your PC boots smoothly. When it's damaged, troubleshooting becomes necessary to get your system back up and running.